happy to be back in Romania. This is 25 years ago when I came first here in 97, and then I was quite active actually until 2002. But now I was not here 21 years, mostly because of my work in the Western Balkans and because I thought actually, and the Ukraine of course, and to some extent I thought the work is done because this country is now on European level. And when I see these highways, yes, it is looking very good, and I will be also positively surprised in Bucharest. But the thing is, it's still not in the Eurozone, it's still not in Schengen, and that costs of course something. They don't have the visa waiver to America. That's a big mistake by the Americans. And additionally, a lot of construction that I like very much. And Bucharest is 14 kilometers to go. And it is like this, that we have to be more ambitious. Now they are really building, that's really visible everywhere. But why not the last 10 years? And of course, the Russians have intervened in Bulgaria and Romania, there's no doubt. And we were ourselves also confused in the Merkel years what to do. But that we need infrastructure, railways and energy, also with Ukraine, Romania, Bulgaria in this region. That was quite a non-brainer, I think so. And Romania has this wonderful tax system of 10% income tax and 16 they are too high still. I call now for 15 for them in the corporation tax, but that's not such a big difference. But of course what makes a big difference is to have the euro and to be in Schengen, in OECD, the visa waiver, and that we really build now massive infrastructure lines towards Mariupol for the liberation and to connect Ukraine fully, and also to build here the interconnectivity. Not 2 bridges to Bulgaria, but 7. Not only motorway bridges, but railway bridges of modern significance, fast railway from Bucharest to Sofia to Istanbul and all around in all direction. And of course the famous northern Black Sea Ring Road. That must be also done from Mariupol to Kherson after liberation of Mariupol, of course. And all these things must be done as well, also to recognize Kosovo, because that Romania has not really made, and I'm very unhappy about that one. So I focus more on Bulgaria and less on Romania, because, do you have any special insight what to do better than us in the West? That's something I would really like to know. And that will be my message as well, What Romania has to do now, of course, the euro, and also in Moldova and in Ukraine. Don't forget, this is the logic. One currency for all, also in the EU candidate countries. The opening of the Austrian labor market for Moldova and for Ukraine, and also for the Western Balkans, obviously. The recognition of Kosovo by all new member countries and future member countries like Ukraine, Moldova and Georgia. And of course the Black Sea security and the Black Sea energy reserves to be lifted by the Europeans. The Neptune field must be lifted. OMV must be sold to a NATO ally, because the Austrians unfortunately have messed it up and left it for Russian management, and that is unacceptable. So the exploration of Petrom and the OMV must be sold to the Norwegians. And then we must lift the energy resources of the Black Sea for all Europeans. And that will be very important. And of course we must absolutely cut off all the Russian uranium, gas and petrol imports, and Austria must join NATO, and Romania to recognize Kosovo. So the logic is quite simple. Everybody in NATO, everybody in the EU, everybody in the OECD, everybody in Schengen, everybody of course in the Euro, and everybody as well in the WTO. Hello Serbia, Bosnia and Kosovo. And obviously everybody then to build infrastructure European level with European funding, and not let the Chinese build the high-speed trains between Belgrade and Budapest, but us, the Europeans and our American allies, to build the high-speed trains and the nuclear reorganization of the nuclear industry here in the region from the Soviet standards to the European or American standards. Because we are now 22 years after the end of the Soviet Union, 22 years, and then we are still having a Soviet nuclear industry. We still have Soviet bridges. I was driving over a Soviet time-built bridge now in Ruse, here between Romania and Bulgaria. This I know very well from Ukraine. This is the original bridge, and we are still using that. We have not been able to build a new bridge in the last 20 years, or 16 years of EU membership. Yeah, it's a bit, and also the tanks, the tanks which we are now supplying for Ukraine. It's all the Soviet stuff which we still have, as if the Soviet Union would be still somehow hanging in the shadow of history, and then we can use their equipment against the Russian aggression of 2022, and still the Eastern European allies have not been changed over towards European equipment, nor Ukraine. In a way, it's lucky because the old stuff is still around and we can use it, but that's not the EU I dreamed of in 2004 when we said we will integrate everybody, because we are so late and we are so slow and we think it's expensive, and ultimately everything gets really much more expensive because we don't have the infrastructure to supply Ukraine, and we have lost a lot of prosperity because we don't give the common institutions to the Eastern Europeans which they need in order to produce the prosperity we expect from them, and they expect as well. Because without the euro, without Schengen, and without the OECD, these all are meaningful institutions. Otherwise, why we have them? And of course they are meaningful, and of course we need to do things together, and of course we need common debt, we need a victory bond, we need common infrastructure, and of course German and Dutch taxpayers have to pay for infrastructure in Eastern Europe as well as the American taxpayers, because it simply makes a lot of sense to have decent infrastructure for everybody. Then we have less internal migration, but basically it's also necessary to have, and it's very good. A common labor market, no country could have the prosperity without it, and we could also have much better economic result when we have also better infrastructure. And here around Bucharest, actually, it looks already very good. It looks very good. I'm very happy. So what we do is working, because as I said 20 years ago, the way is very clear into NATO, EU and the Euro. But somehow we lost them 15 years in between somehow. Not lost it, the institutions works, but we lost the dynamic of further integration because of this wrong narrative that this is not working. And look, it's working. Our institutions are working, and they are working very well. And we just need to believe in them back again. We need to interpret also their progress much better. And we need also to change the narrative that it was too early for Romania and Bulgaria, like it would be only when you are rich and happy you can join the European Union. No, the EU is also a development project, and it's important to be early in, because we have much more redistribution and much more opportunities much faster if you are inside the European Union. Waiting until perfection has not really worked in the case of Norway and Switzerland, because they might be perfect, but they don't want to join anymore. So it's about redistribution and it's about development as well. And so you need to take the countries in when they have fulfilled the basic criteria, and then you take them in and you develop them inside. Maybe without voting rights, maybe with supervision, maybe with assistance, with some capacity building still in the beginning phase. That's all possible. For example, this is also quite the old train. Didn't we have the money for new ones? You know, I don't say that everybody has to have the latest and newest equipment, but we could be a bit more generous if we want to change over towards the Green Deal, and if we want to have all these kind of common standards that are also necessary, then we need to be a little bit more generous. Hello, Germany. And we need to redistribute, otherwise everybody will live only in Germany and the rest will be a holiday house. Yeah? Because when you have the infrastructure, it also comes the prosperity and the companies and the jobs, and then the people can stay. Otherwise they all go to the centers in the west and with a reason. Or they leave the countryside here because we don't have really the investment done, the twice done into decentralization and common infrastructure to make it worth living. Yes, what I see now when I enter Bucharest again after 20 years is also poverty, but also much progress, and I'm very happy about it. And I repeat, we could have even much better result here in Romania and Bulgaria if we had included them fully in our institutions. And now, I hope, under the hammer blows of the Russian aggression, we will be ready to do exactly that. And if we are not ready to do it now, I ask myself when? In some kind of nirvana future? That hopefully nobody will wait so long, because, you know, and what's the difference then to wait 1 or 2 years? Let's get it done. The institutions work, and we should allow them to work their magic. And that is obviously inside all these institutions I have already outlined. Of course, you know, Romania is also not perfect, especially on foreign policy. They have been very slow to support Moldova, and they are still rejecting Kosovo, and they are somehow connecting all these issues. because of their internal fragilities and the lack of decentralization and the difficult relation with the Hungarians and Orban's messing up, and of course because of Transnistria. But ultimately these are all excuses. You're either with us in the West or not. And if you want to be with us, here's the deal, here's the Kosovo recognition, show that you can jump over the shadow of the last 14 years where you have thought that we are smarter than us, and you recognize Kosovo, and then we were friends fully, and the support will be also much higher. And then obviously we do all this infrastructure together, which we should have done a long time, and not with the Chinese, and certainly not with the Russians, because we have to anyhow expropriate all Russian infrastructure and all Russian state energy companies' assets in the European Union. But we make it like this, that we significantly invest as Europe in all these things, and then we build all these fantastic high-speed trains from Constanza to Vienna, and from Varna to Constanza, and from Sofia to Belgrade. We build it with European money and European technology, and we achieve it together. And that will lift all the resources of this amazing continent when we are more united, and that this all works. I think I will prove you with my videos here from Bucharest tomorrow. Unfortunately, I have not a lot of time, but I will use the time I have, and I will show you that Austria made a big mistake with the rejection of Romania and Bulgaria and Schengen, and we will remedy that, and we have to do that. And also Romania made a big mistake with delaying the Eurozone entry so long, and that has also to happen. And that's the logical answer to the Russian war. That's European unity, and that will also help Ukraine. And please do what you can for our Ukrainian friends, for the liberation of Mariupol. And I think the Romanians have done a lot already, and that's very important, and I will also thank them for that. Good. I will try to find my hotel now and try to orient myself in a city I've not been for 21 years, but I think it will be, thanks to Google, all easy. And tomorrow I will give you more updates and more to come from Pax Europiana. All the best. Bye from Bucharest.